Thanks, Kaytee.
Oh my gosh, hi guys. I'm so excited about today. I deal with quite a lot of PAs and EAs in my business, and I'm hired by HR companies to help them develop a health and wellbeing protocol. So this is what we're going to try and cover in the next 45 to 55 minutes. And I just want to give you a little bit of background about me. I had terrible ADHD. My dad, literally from the age of 4, would drag me down to the BMX track and wear me out till about 8 o'clock so that they could sleep during the night. I went on to become an addict for quite some time and realised pretty quickly that the only way to get through it was to get through it up here. So I currently have 2 clinics, one on the North Shore and one in Ponsonby, and we deal with all sorts. So back in the day when I moved from Dunedin back up to Auckland, the guy that I was with, who was also my lecturer at the time, woo! So we moved up to Auckland and we started working with sports teams, and I ended up getting a little bit bored. Not that they're not like boring, like literally who'd want to do skin folds on All Blacks and touch skin? Not many. So I started becoming really involved with mountain biking, road riding, and I represented New Zealand in quite a few sports, which was great, but I ended up getting burnt out and missed out on the Olympic Games. So I don't know if anyone heard, was it Dean's talk just before? Anyone heard that talk about burnout? Yep. So I got to that last stage of not listening to my body and ended up bedridden with glandular fever for quite some time, which is why I'm really passionate about all aspects of this whole topic. So yes, I definitely deal with autism. And to do this, back in the day, it would have been about maybe 2004, 2005. I had a woman come into my clinic with a young baby who had regressed into autism, and that just spiraled me into this huge, big passion of trying to figure out what was going on, like why was this happening? So I had to go back to school. And there's no test on this, by the way, but this is part of our metabolism, and every single one of you is slightly different, no matter what anyone tells you. I work with chemo patients. I buried my favourite cancer patient yesterday, and I think I cried more than I'd ever cried before. He was given 3 weeks, and we got around about 2.5 years. So that was pretty amazing. I also see people like you every day. People who get up early, they try and train, they go to the gym, or they go for a walk, they come home, they've got all the kids to deal with, they've got to quickly go to work. Does this kind of sound familiar? It's interesting because I don't actually see any PA men in the audience. Is that correct? There's no men here? It's all, what? Woohoo! Yes! Okay, I've got a case study for you soon. Brilliant. So these are the kind of people that I'm dealing with, and this may sound quite familiar. Overwhelmed, overworked, trying to train. Oh my God, how do we juggle 100 million things at once? And then maybe you go home late at night and you try and finish off the work that you didn't quite get done during the day. Maybe. And this is what we have to do. This was definitely me. I actually ended up having around about 8 cups of coffee a day, and I'd sneak down to the 24-hour dairy and get bags of lollies to get me through my training sessions. I remember waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning once, pulling the bag of jelly jubes out of the rubbish bin to eat them and feeling ashamed. So yeah, I've definitely been there. This is your fight-flight response. You guys familiar with this? Yep. Great, perfect, then we can quickly move through this. This is kind of what your brain thinks. And everyone responds differently. So this was a really cool published paper that they published in America based on the stress response of individuals, and they set it up so that someone took a photo at the most scary part. Now who's who? Now, interestingly, after this one, they didn't catch it where she turned around and gave him a slap. So cool. So we all respond differently, right? We're all different responders for stress. Now, here is the brainstem, a little part called the amygdala. Now, that is your sole responsible fight-flight response, and it sends messages to the adrenal glands. Then you've got what they call the subconscious or the limbic system. This part just wants to be happy all the time, and the rest of your brain wants it to be happy. It'll do anything it can to keep it happy. And then you've got the conscious, rational, logical part of the brain right here. Does anyone have teenagers? Okay, what happens when the teenager wants the car keys and you say no? Yeah, like they don't have this capacity to be logical and systematic when it comes to anything to do with borrowing your car at 9 o'clock at night. So what ends up happening when we get stressed is we get, no matter what it is, it could be, give me some examples, you could have crashed your car, you could have simply 100 different emails in your inbox when you get to work. Doesn't matter what it is. These are the guys that take the load, and they sit just above the kidneys in the lower part of the back. So when you get to the point where you're quite burnt out, some people will get back pain. Now, they're really important because they punch out adrenaline and cortisol, which are your number 2 stress responses. Now, they require one very important thing: vitamin C. We don't have the capacity to produce vitamin C like other mammals, so just by simply taking vitamin C throughout the day, you're going to be doing yourself a huge injustice if you don't take it. The other things that happen is as you get older, you might find that your menopause symptoms come on a lot faster when you're going through a stressful period. The reason is it also produces a lot of your other hormones. You get the same thing when you may have a little bit too much red wine or coffee. Same sort of situation. So pregnenolone is our major hormone that gets stolen to make cortisol. So you basically dry up, not just here, but down here a lot faster, which is not that fun. You will actually end up peeing out more zinc and B vitamins than normal, so that old saying about stress B, taking a good B vitamin, is actually spot on. If you have any white spots on your nails, it's usually a sign that you're quite low in zinc and can be a little bit of calcium, so it's a good idea to get into a little bit of zinc. Oysters, not everyone's cup of tea, so nuts and seeds are really useful, and making sure you're chewing. So here's our possible perceptions of stress, right? These are the things that we conceptualize. Then you've got the stuff that is more in the body, so whether it's lack of sleep, whether it's electromagnetic fields or viruses. One output. Now here's the interesting part. We all know that we respond differently, but I'm going to take it a little bit back a bit further into the womb. Every single one of us has this one thing in common. We all spent 9 months where? Yeah, totally. Best place to be. No wonder we all cry when we come out. Okay, so this is all of us when we're growing. It's an egg. It's our egg. Now we have 3 kind of dominant parts to us. The first is called the ectoderm. So if you're someone that's quite thin, you're much more hyper-aware. People might call you anxious. You're a list taker. You're a data collector. Your environment is really important. This might be a little bit too much for you to be in. Not too much light, not too much sound. You want your environment to be very relaxed. You'll get stressed quite easily versus the other 2. So this is someone who is able to put on muscle. We call them the activators and the crusaders. So they're going to be still risk takers. They will be all about missions and purpose. So they're going to be the ones that probably won't want to have a decent conversation with you if it's not part of them getting to their goal. I can see some of your faces smiling, so I wonder if you're thinking about your bosses or you. So, third one, this is someone who will, when they get stressed, they'll put on weight. It doesn't matter if you're eating celery or you're on a grapefruit diet. When you get stressed, your body will naturally go towards carbohydrates. So these are kind of the common traits that we would we not label people with, but usually this is all led by your hormones. This is not about your personality. This is what you're driven by what your body is producing. And has anyone done their HMDI, the HDMI? Yeah, so you'll know that there's a colour wheel you can do with your personalities. This is quite similar. So here we have all about your hormones. We have the sensors, the hyper-aware analytical data collectors. We've got those that produce a bit more muscle along the side. And then we've got our guardians and our connectors. And it's all based on some of these principles. And I'll make sure you guys all have these slides too afterwards. So I think this is really, really key when you're working with your boss, but also with yourselves, because you all spend so much time looking after everybody else. Does it seem a little bit more? Can you see kind of where you might be along that pathway? Right, so more likely to burn out. More likely to burn out, the people who are along the red to the purple. More likely to get stressed when they're isolated. So these guys up the top are all about everybody else but themselves, and the connectors as well. So if you want to learn a bit more about this, you can go to www.ph360.me. I just get all my clients to do their profile anyway. It's not I'm not getting paid for this, but they're really, really great, because then you can actually have an understanding about where you sit along the lines of your dominant hormones. So this is how we explain it to clients. So say, for example, you might be more guardian. Think of Oprah Winfrey. Perfect example. Other ones would be, if you're looking at activator, it's going to be someone like Sylvester Stallone, who puts on muscle everywhere and is quite set in the jaw. The next is the activator. So activator would be more like a gymnast, more able to be energized, quick, and then needs a quick break. Then you get your crusader, someone who's a bit more like a horse, so long and lean. They'd be more into things like running, cycling, swimming. CrossFit would probably be a good one for the activator and crusader. And then we've got our sensor. So long, lean, ballet, quite light body. And that's how we go about starting to do our programs. So, where do you think you might sit? And the interesting thing is, when we do this kind of work, what we're finding is people who are naturally more connectors, so they're all up for conversations, making sure that everyone's okay. Hey, how are you going today? Oh, cool, can I help you with anything? Or if it's the guardian, who's more about, let me give you everything and take negative in return. Yes, I see some smiles. Cool. So this is how we can pretty much, before even getting into too much detail about hormones, I usually can get a good idea about this when people can bring in their PH360 profile. So we've done this with Westpac, ASB, I've done it with a few of the other HR departments around, and usually the PAs, the EAs, are connectors, guardians, and diplomats. We get a couple of these guys. I think the Obama, what was his name? Okay, he's total crusader. Like, got to have this ready. Everything's in place. Okay, I have to think of everything. So a bit more mechanical in thinking. So, what do you reckon would happen when things get a little bit haywire? What do we look for? Definitely lower libido. erectile dysfunction for men, and I do see that with men. You'll be hangry, blood sugar irregulation, and it's the other way too. Definitely brain fog. A lot of people crave for salt, so salty chips in the afternoon might be a go. You're standing up, you get a little bit of low blood pressure. And this is really like, my mother's a guardian, so she's all about giving to everybody else. And when she gets stressed, I'll find Bounty bars, wrappers, in the side of the car, because she'd be driving home and would automatically want to calm herself down. So it's a natural response, absolutely natural. We see quite a lot of eczema. So eczema and allergies, asthma comes up quite a bit, and not able to sleep as well. Does anyone can relate to that? Yep, got some nods. Now, you probably would have heard if you have caffeine too close to to your evening, you won't be able to sleep. Well, interesting, every single one of you has a different type of genetic makeup. So some of you may not actually be able to clear caffeine out of your system for more than 24 hours. It's the same gene that's responsible for clearing estrogen as well. So caffeine and estrogen usually are cleared by the CYP1A2 gene. No, I'm not saying give up coffee, I promise. But if you have problems with weight from your hips and your thighs and around your tummy, that might be a pretty obvious thing to just try and cut back on. So yeah, we talked about skin rashes. Definitely training is a huge, and this is really key. So in the last 2 years, the amount of PAs, EAs, and people who are responsible for others coming in who are on antidepressants has risen by about 45%. And most of the time they're just fatigued and tired. So this is really huge. When you have brain inflammation, you're never going to feel good. This is a key one. Might be getting up and a little bit more stiffer in the morning. And then the central nervous system will shut you down. So here, all along this part here, you have an amazing nervous system, and what it does is it will either tell the stomach to start digesting, or get it through really quick, or can you hold on to it because we're too busy running away from a dinosaur, or it could be a boss, or whatever it is. So that's kind of how your body will start then working its way into a frenzy. I'm being dramatic. It's more like IBS symptoms. So you usually will have constipation or diarrhea, and that can be quite significant for quite some time. So what we look for, which one? We want the guy on the right, you guys. So it took you a while. You're like, is that really what I think it is? We want solid, stonking number twos. That's what we're after. And it's really important. Number twos tell me a lot about what's going on for you. I don't expect a text with a photo, but it would be really good to know that you're not going to be getting anything that's not flashing. So little bits of food coming out on the stool could be an indication that you might be rushing and not chewing your food properly. I know it sounds really basic, but your stomach doesn't have teeth, so we really want to try and make sure your body will digest as much nutrients as you possibly can. Before and after. So that was only 4 years difference. There's massive. Now, you know what they do on boats? When they have an aluminium boat that they're taking out into the ocean, they put a little zinc, kind of a block. It's a suicide mineral. And what it does is it stops the boat from rusting. So what's happened is Obama has been missing not saying that his PA wasn't good enough to make sure his diet was good, because I guarantee you it would have been top notch, especially if he had a flag in his pocket for the whole. It's about making sure you're getting enough nutrients. So, for some of you, this is what happens. Half of you are going to be putting on weight when you get stressed. The other half will lose it. So usually it's this end, so it's that top end, the ones that care about others. You guys put on weight much faster. So what do you reckon in a normal metabolic state? 40% of the food that you eat is used, 60% is used as stored. What happens in a stressed person? What do you reckon the percentages are? There's no wrong answer. Give me a 10, give me a 20. Okay, so 17. Oh, who said that? Yes, perfect. Pretty much. So 10 to 20% is what you'd be using. The rest your body will convert to body fat because it thinks you're going into hibernation. Stink, hey? Damn it. So that's pretty much how it works with food metabolism. And we've known that for quite some time. And it's the opposite for the others. So what we want to do is look at a case study. Now this is a Mr. This is exactly the same for a Mrs. So we're going to call him Mr. D. When he first came into my office, he was over 120 kilos. He was actually almost, he was over 120 and was really miserable, wanted to lose weight. I will give you these so you can actually have the access to these, and I'll give you all of the health types so you can have a look at them. This is him. He's totally into connecting with other people. He's all about relationships. He loves people. He's into caregiving. He wanted to be a guidance counsellor and ended up being an EA. When he gets stressed, the first thing he does is he drives to the donut shop and he buys a donut. And it's the best donuts ever. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of bread and butter before, but they put this beautiful cream in the middle of, And he will be eating a donut before he even thinks about what he's done. So it's a completely subconscious thing for him. He's led by oxytocin, which is a touch and love hormone. So when you're breastfeeding your children, your body produces quite a lot of oxytocin. You've got prolactin, which is also a breastfeeding hormone. So the analogy is he's breastfeeding his friends. He's the caregiver. So we want to go nice and easy with him. This is pretty much his profile. I'm going to provide you with everything and give us or expect for nothing in return. Now, the ultimate meals for these guys are between 1 to 2 meals a day, plus or minus. So we've gone through what kind of hormones are really important for them. We want to make sure that they're feeling connected, or they want to make sure that they're feeling connected. They also produce a lot of insulin. So insulin is a hormone that stops you from losing weight. Automatically, it stops you from losing weight. He was feeling stressed, overworked, and at work wasn't appreciated. So what do we do? What do we do for someone who's not feeling appreciated and would like to lose quite a significant amount of weight? Now, he lost over 30 kilos in a significant amount of time. Not really, only about 4 to 5 months. So I asked him why don't we just evaluate what's up with your diet? Let's have a look. So, mochas in the morning with a muffin. Cool. Another mocha. And then he likes those shapes because they've got a lot of flavour. And so he'll just eat one at a time at his desk and go through a box. Another miso, some katsu. Loves a chocolate in the afternoon because how's he feeling? Not that good. Yeah, he's feeling down. He's feeling yuck. And here's his favourite donut. I mean, it looks pretty good, right? You can say yes, it's okay. So, big pasta meal at night time, and he likes to have some alcohol with his wife because that's his contact time. So what do we see? All right, so I did a really quick profile download of his carbohydrate content, protein and fats. Carbohydrates are grains, all fruit, alcohol, breads. Yep, cool, root vegetables. All fruits are carbohydrates. So what we did was we put it through, and he totaled around about 277 grams. Now here's an insidious weight gain profile that I showed him. So he's kind of up a little bit higher than what we'd like to see. But we want to make it really easy to follow, because otherwise, if it's not easy, who's going to do it? So we went for the low-hanging fruit, right? So this is what we changed. Have the mockers, just make them small. And I want you to sit down and really enjoy it. Take your time. We also got him to, on the way to work, buy because he's time poor, buy some chia seed puddings, which you can get from most of your local cafes now, which is great. And we ended up doing some super easy. When he made dinner, he would put the leftovers in a container that he would take to work. So that's pretty much what we started with. And of course chocolate, like seriously. Because we're still boosting his mood, and it's better than having the donuts. So what we did was we modified it, changed the amount of carbs. This was the last thing to go. So man boobs, moobs. I don't know what you guys call them here, just moobs. Cool. We did a little bit of supplementation and got him off plastics. So plastics were a really big thing for him, drinking out of plastic bottles, getting rid of Glad wrap that he wrapped his food in. Plastics is huge for estrogen, so that's for men and for women. I can send you lots of information about plastics. They call them xenoestrogens. So we also got rid of his non-stick pans and his plastic jugs that he boiled water in. And of course, we got rid of caffeine, because if his body's trying to clear caffeine, it's not clearing estrogen. So that was pretty much what we did for him, which was awesome. So other things that were really good for him, we managed to schedule some family time, and he put it on the fridge, because his wife was an executive and he had 2 little kids, and they needed to be a little bit organized. More sex. Different for women. Oh my God, let me tell you, the last thing you're going to feel like when you get home from a hard day's work is having sex with your husband. Sorry guys, but sometimes this is just the truth, right? Am I right? Yeah, oh my God. So we're going to get to the women. Okay, boy time with his mates. So that's actually where he can build up his testosterone and keep things going. This is the website I sent him to. And you'll have this on your slides afterwards as well. So you can do a little cheap one that's super easy to do. And we also got him my food bag. That is not a failure. That is like using the technology. So if you need to get that, absolutely go for it. I'm a big fan of any sort of meal that makes life easy for people. So what have we covered so far? Coffee. Carbs. Yep. Plastic, cool, sweet, you guys got it. And you know what he ended up doing? He converted his garage into a gym. And he runs 3 to 4 times a week training sessions for his mates. This is so cool. He's doing so awesome. I'm so proud of him. Cool. Didn't need to do any testing. I didn't need for him to pay any money for getting blood tests. It was really simple. That's a win-win. Don't want him to be paying lots of money for getting hormone testing and supplementation when he doesn't need to. So, spot on. Okay, case number 2. When I first met Carol, Carol came in, and this is basically totally her. She cried the whole session, like uncontrollably. And it was just she was destroyed. And was working, I think it was around about 80 hours a week. Still had, what were we talking about? 2 kids plus a husband. So she just called them 3 kids, my 3 kids, because she did everything, which was probably half the problem, right? Okay, so she's a connector. Now I use dog because they're like, oh, yum, yum, muffin, oh, yum, oh shit, sorry, I shouldn't have had that, I'm on a diet. Hi, oh, yes, absolutely, I can't wait to do that. Oh, yeah, cool. So she's really bubbly, energetic, got heaps of energy, wants to be everybody's friend. Losing weight for connectors is really tough. Because why? They want to be involved with everything. Yes, I'll come to dinner with you on Thursday. Oh, no, oh yeah, let's have the curry, that looks really good. Yes, double rice, definitely, put me up, I'm in. So the big thing was, she was working in an office by herself. So social isolation, not good for them. Grains and sugar were part of her diet. So I know for these guys, we want to make sure that she gets external validation. She's going to have to get other people involved with her weight loss program, because then they're like, yeah, girl, woo, you've lost 2 kilos, awesome. You can, bounce off each other. So that's what I really love about getting the connectors back on track. We want to make sure that they do it in a group. So these guys are hooked up for boot camps, for gym classes, for a walking group, anything to do with getting someone else involved. So we'll cover the foods. It was a long list of things. That symptom list that I put up just before was pretty much, yes, I'm that, yes, I've got no libido. Yes, I drink coffee to get me going, and yes, I drink alcohol at night because I need to relax. So, perfect candidate. Now, she sent me this. It was on Pinterest. She's like, oh my God, seriously, I'm so constipated. They are so bad. I'm so embarrassed. I need to go outside to fart before I come back in. Which is, not that cool when you're in an office space. So, number one, we always take care of this first. Number one, before we do anything else, make sure their mental health's good. So, the more cortisol you're producing on a day-to-day basis, the less your brain will be able to reuptake and use serotonin, which is your happy hormone. So this is really important. You want as much serotonin as you possibly can have. It doesn't matter your brain's perception if it's 100 emails or you're having to run away from an eruption. Same thing. This is her. This is a normal gut. She was backed up like crazy. Okay, what do you think that does to you? Yeah, you can't get rid of toxins. You're going to reabsorb estrogen. It's going to make you fatter. It's going to put some more fat on your backside. So we had to go back to this stuff and get her doing at least like 1 a day is minimum. 2 to 3, you are like on fire. So if you don't remember anything from today, apart from I'm going to get you to eat more vegetables, is try and make sure you are like checking your back end. I mean, I'm just joking. I mean the toilet. You're going to make sure that you're doing good quality stonkers every day. They should be. So we do a lot of Dutch testing in the clinic, and this is what it looks like. So we on this cartridge paper, we send it away, and we find out just how much cortisol you produce on a day-to-day basis. So if you look at top one, that black line is the upper reference range, the black line is the lower reference range. So if you looked at this and you saw that red line, which means how much cortisol you produce. So what was cortisol? What does it do? It gets you up in the morning. It keeps you resilient. It means you can talk, you can exercise, you can do everything. It's your number one most important hormone. These two people, you'd probably look at them and go, oh my God, they're like totally adrenally fatigued, right? They're not producing any cortisol. What's interesting, when you do these tests, people who are in their first stages of adrenal fatigue or burnout, who are producing a lot of cortisol, what the body does is it tries to shut you down. So it does that first by metabolizing as much cortisol as it possibly can, so you're peeing out the metabolites really quickly. What happens if this goes on for a long period of time? That's your full-on burnout. This is the second one. So this was basically her. How much cortisol is that? No wonder she was crying in my office. No wonder she can't produce any other sex hormones, because remember we talked about if they're not producing sex hormones, your adrenal glands aren't producing, like they are not going to be producing anything. Sorry, stress hormones. So she was totally burned out. She's the bottom one. So what we did, address the cause, the sleep, 7 to 8 hours. Now your genes, there's a part on your genes that's responsible for sleep. It's the same part that's responsible for mental health. So the less sleep you get, the more anxiety, depression, what else? Schizophrenia, bipolar, the more mental health tendencies start to come up. I used to work a lot with schizophrenics. None of them would ever be good if they had less than 7 hours sleep. That's significant. It's totally significant. So what we did was when she was sleeping, as soon as she woke up, vitamin C, B vitamins, adrenal support on her bedside before her feet hit the ground. I want you taking this. I want you on some supplements. Straight outside, getting some morning sun. I think if you heard Dean's talk, you'd know that it's really important to get sunshine, so we made sure she did that. Super important. Just for a few weeks. Just a little bit. Cut coffee out just for a little bit. Because when the adrenals are that tired, they are not going to be producing any more cortisol. They are going to be just trying to survive. So we need to give them time to recharge. And we had a contract. Usually when the adrenals get that low, it can take between 6 months to 2 years to get them back up and running exactly how they used to be before you were tired. It's a long process. So we shut down her Instagram account and her Facebook. Oh my God. Just for about 4 to 5 months. Best thing that ever happened. I'm not that mean, honestly, most of the time. I'm like, oh, shit. And I just got her to put her legs up the wall at night time. So I'll give you these slides. I do use, when it comes to like desperate times, call for desperate measures, I do use supplements. Diet just doesn't seem to be enough. And then I taught her about your happy hormone. So serotonin, right here, at the very top, you need protein. You need lots of protein. Then you need to be able to chew it and be able to break it down in the small intestine. Now, the more stressed and anxious you are, the less hydrochloric acid you produce, which means that then you don't get all of these individual amino acids. Now, everything in green, you also need. Because how did you all get here today? Did you drive your car? Transport? Yep, cool. Train, whatever it was. Right, now the car keys, to drive your car from A to B, you need this stuff. Because if you don't have any of your nutrients, you won't be making the next step, which is 5-HTP, which some people use for depression. We use it a lot in clinic. It's amazing. It also helps you get to sleep, because after serotonin, melatonin, that's your sleep hormone. So A goes to B, goes to C, goes to D. And you need all of the stuff in green to be able to make it all happen. Our bodies are amazing. Now, the serotonin that your body produces, most of it's made in the gut. Now, if you've done a little bit of gut work, you'll know about this stuff, but it doesn't go to the brain. The stuff that's made in the gut is to help keep you regular. The stuff that's made in your brain is for your brain. So we need to make sure, when I was working with Mrs. C or Mrs. Carroll, that she had an understanding that your brain is a chemical factory. You want to be able to give it all of the key nutrients it then needs to be able to then create serotonin. So we looked at what we can do with her diet, and we went through basic foods. It doesn't have to be rocket science. Make it simple. So I gave her a set of recipes, which I'll give to you guys. I'll have them somewhere. I'm sure we can sort that out. And this was her meal for about 3 days. She'd get a roast chicken from the supermarket, and that's just what she did. Like, honestly, at that stage, I didn't care as long as we were getting a better response. So she was eating scones, I think it was meat pie, and then a chocolate bar in the afternoon. So, hey, anything's better, right? So, we also did Whoop. If anyone's heard of Whoop, it's a different type of food bag, and that was fantastic because it's a little bit simpler. They kind of pre-cut everything, so all you have to do is throw it together. And that was fantastic. So that worked really brilliantly. And we worked on making sure she was rotating the foods when she got a bit better. Chew your food and take 1 minute before you eat every single meal to calm down, to not worry about anyone else but the awesome food in front of you. So just 1 minute, that's all I got her to do, 1 minute. Oh, we also used baby food for a while, and those pre-made soups, because that was easy and she just had to go to the supermarket. So, dun, dun, dun. Doesn't have to be hard, as long as you're getting real food, and you would have heard that from Dean as well, which is really, really, really helpful. Now, the light stuff is interesting. Exposure to bright light, you would have heard this before. Now, it's more important. Bright light is a better predictor for your mental health than using Prozac. So what we did with her is the light inside is, it may seem like it's bright, but it's not the kind of lux that you need. So 5 to 10 minutes would be great outside in the morning. Make sure you don't wear your sunglasses to work. Try and keep them off. We got her a light, a blue light, that she'd have by her bedside. How else? Now at the moment, she wasn't quite ready to do any kind of boot camp, so we got her into yoga. And it was a home yoga with a dream. You just YouTube it, there's like a 30 days with, yeah, you've done it? Oh my gosh, she's cool. She's like, hey, really great woman, like very low-key if you're into that. Breathing exercises were really good with that. So she was also sleep deprived, right? She wasn't sleeping. Now, the more tired you are, the more ghrelin you produce, so it makes you hungrier. Super, super hungry. So what we did was, we got her to bed a little bit earlier. It's so funny. We got her to bed earlier because your melatonin starts to be made around about here. So actually, sorry, it's about here, at about 8 o'clock. Now that hormone is so important for you. It helps you repair, recover. It helps to get your brain healthy. We use it in large doses for our cancer patients. And we got off the device at night time because that also stunts the production of melatonin. So the brain will actually be able to filter through that light. It hits the back of the brain, and what it does is it sends a message to produce melatonin when it starts to get dark. So that's why tablets have a specific blue screen that wakes you up and makes you think that it's actually daytime. We ran diagnostic tests. She had hypothyroidism, which is a thyroid issue. You can get that done with your GP, so we'll have these notes up so you can actually ask for those tests, and we worked on that, which actually made her lose 10 kilos. So we just did a couple of really simple things. Dinner by 7, if possible, and little tiny small meals, because as a reward-orientated person, a little bit often was actually more important for her than 1 or 2 large meals. She felt really good about that. And we just tried to get as much nutrients in as possible. Now, gargling is a really good way to reduce your stress response. So is singing and laughing, which is pretty cool. How do we do that more often? Have you ever heard that saying, when's the last time you had a belly laugh? Yeah, so having fun and try not to make things too serious sometimes is actually really cool. Right. At home, wasn't that good? So has anyone heard of the 5 love languages? Yes. Okay, what are you? To touch? Cool, touch and words of affirmation. So to feel loved, you need someone to give you hugs and tell you that they love you, that you're amazing, that you're gorgeous. Yep, appreciate you, thank you. So, who is what? So say I'm the husband, okay, and I mow the lawns, I take the rubbish out. What else would I do to show you that I loved you? I'd work, I'd provide. Yeah, I'm a provider. Now, what's the wife? What's Mrs. C? Touch. She's touch. So what does she need? She needs to be cuddled. So online you can find the 5 love languages, and it's a quick questionnaire. It takes about 5 to 7 minutes. If you can manage to do that with your partner and you learn your love languages, it can make a huge, big difference. So he started touching her, and she started recognizing when he had done something. And they need it all the time. You might want to put like a little appreciate on the fridge, because guys need that reassurance. So it made such a huge difference. It was amazing. So we do want lots of laughter, lots of fun, lots of play. Make sure you're eating as many raw and steamed vegetables as you possibly can. We try and aim for about 4 to 6 handfuls a day. So that's probably one of the best places to start. Instead of taking out too much sugar, which is still really important, the number one thing I would say was add more stuff in and then begin taking the sugar and stuff like that out in grains. So ample sleep, and the average range for that would be at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep if possible. Now, the more you put on weight when you're stressed, the more you're the kind of person that will be more of a night owl usually. So it's really important that you guys do get enough sleep, and it's okay to start slow in the morning. We do like to manage hormones. So again, the plastics is a big thing, taking out plastic bottles, making sure you're getting rid of your Glad wrap, and you can now buy those honey bear wraps. Have you guys seen those? Yeah, the ones that have they're like a bee wax, so they're fantastic. I'll send some links after this. There's some cool places to buy those. Make sure you're getting good bowel movements a day. It's all common sense, right? But I think because we're quite sedentary now, the getting up every 20 minutes and sitting back down is a good way to get circulation through your bowels. So that would be really great. And make sure you cut out sugar and the coffee. And get off now, because I'm sick of hearing about sugar and coffee. So if you can, do the best you can, and remember that the more stressed that you are, the more that you're naturally going to reach for carbohydrates. So the more of a connector and guardian personality type you are, the more it's good to have lots of good quality snacks in the fridge. So for that guardian that I talked about before, he had olives, he had carrots in containers to take to work. Don't forget about touch if that's you. Cool. So what we'll do is I'll stay here and around if you need me. Otherwise, thank you very much for listening.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, wasn't that inspiring? I watched you all glued and listening to what Kaytee was saying. Please give her another round of applause, Kaytee. I'm the living example of everything bad that's gone on. I like my coffee, I drink a bit too much, and I've just come back from Europe where I spent basically 4.5 weeks eating and drinking my way around France. So I learned a lot from that. And I was just, if you've got time, we can take some questions from the audience if they're cool, if you're cool. Has anybody got any questions? Because I know that, honestly, who knew that plastics give you man boobs? I tell you what, I'll be cutting out the plastic after that. Clearly, I've had a lot of plastic. Also, I was just thinking, When you look at the list of what you were talking about, some of those bad choices that we make, or the not so perfect choices, I guess, is it easy to eliminate them one by one out of your lifestyle, or do you go full on and just get rid of everything when you start this process of trying to be a better you?
Great call. If you're an all or nothing personality type, then probably like cut it. But if you're not, then you'll just you'll be torturing yourself.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
So work out which personality type you are and go with that routine.
Well, it would be, who here is all or nothing? Yep, you know who you are. So if you are an all or nothing.
I'm all or nothing, don't you worry about that. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, the other thing I thought of was you were talking about time out. When you sit down and you enjoy your smaller coffee, when you enjoy that break of whatever it is you're going to have a bit of time out with, is it wise, what have you got a technique to help people, I guess, contemplate when they're doing that time out? Because what happens is, for me, I sit down with a coffee, and then the first thing I want to do is pull out my phone and scroll through Facebook, scroll through Instagram.
Totally.
It's really hard for me to concentrate on just doing nothing. So have you got any technique tips?
Well, good call. So your brain is hardwired to produce dopamine. Dopamine's your reward. So we're becoming more in tune with our phones, right? So every time you go on to a device, you're producing more dopamine, so it makes it more exciting than sitting down and breathing for a minute. Yeah, so it's really difficult. What I would say is I try and tell my clients to not have their phone on, like have it on flight mode, and choose some times during the day to be able to turn it on. The easiest thing to do, if you guys all close your eyes right now, just for 1 minute, close your eyes. Okay, now take a really deep breath in, and I want you to focus on where the air's going, and then breathe out. And I want you to do a couple more breaths just in your own time, and just focus on the air. Where is it going? Try and fill the very bottom of your lungs. And now relax your shoulders. And now let your tummy hang out. Just let it hang out. No one's watching. You're just here by yourselves. Feel your feet on the floor. Now wiggle your toes. Feel them in your shoes. Okay, you just did it. You just did it. You can open your eyes. That's being present, because you've gone from here into here. That's all you need to do. I think that was maybe a minute. Yeah, so depending on what kind of, if you're more naturally anxious, that's a really good way. You can do it on the loo, because we should be on the loo a couple of times a day. Yeah.
On the loo, doing great quality stonkers, as Kaytee said.
Stonkers!
Thank you. Yes.
Yes.
Love it. Okay, any other questions while we're here? Oh, yes, right down the front. Thank you.
I just wanted to ask a little bit more about the plastics.
Yes.
What do you store your food and what do you drink your water out of?
Cool.
Yeah.
Great.
A little bit follow on.
Yeah, awesome. And it's been a process, because when we started working with autistic kids, we had to look at everything in the environment, like what the cleaning products have been used, like what are they storing their food in. So I use, it's like a calico, and it's been coated in beeswax, so that's what I use for my wraps. Plastic containers, I've just kind of slowly, no, I haven't done it all at once, but I'll get a glass click-clack, so it's the glass bottom with the click-clack top. I use glass drinking bottles, and you can get stainless steel as well.
So the BPA free.
Yeah, oh, hey, good call. So BPA, you know those plastic bottles, you're like, my God, it's amazing, it's BPA free. No? You know, so plastic bottles, they say that are safe, aren't. No, there's no plastic, because it's got BPS, it's got a whole nother range of other plastics that we didn't even know about 3 years ago. So plastics are everywhere. They're in your makeup. They're in everything you put on your skin. It's a petrochemical. Oh, deodorant. Oh, perfumes. Oh my God, perfumes. Sorry. Okay, I deal with, a lot of the work that I do is with people who have real issues with hormones, and fragrances are massive. Fragrances are a huge problem. Yeah, they're not legislated. I'll leave it there, because we've had this conversation about Gucci perfume before. Smells amazing. Sorry.
No, this is great. I love it. Okay, more questions coming thick and fast.
Yes.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Shelley.
Hi,
I just
Shelley.
wanted to ask, with your work with autistic kids,
Yes.
is there a correlation between their diet and their symptoms, autistic symptoms?
Okay, great question. So the question was, is there a correlation between their diet? Do you know what? Most of it comes in utero, so it's about the mum's genetics, it's about the mum's toxicity. There is no barrier with the placenta. Everything that the mum absorbs, breathes, puts on her skin, goes through to the baby. So we now know that, I think it's like 2016 was the last time they tested the umbilical cord blood of babies, and that's how we test for toxicity for humans. And there's over 300 chemicals now found in umbilical cord blood. Plastics, polystyrene, they found all sorts, chemicals, yep. So yeah, and then the diet, so we always put them on gluten-free, dairy-free, as spray-free as possible. And there's a huge change, but it can take like years because you're detoxing our little system. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Geez, you must have such a rewarding job, I guess, to see people at their sometimes lowest and then to transform them into being the best human beings they can be. Must be so rewarding.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Oh,
I
what
feel very
a
lucky.
job. Okay, we're very lucky to have you here too. So here we go. Kaytee, you mentioned that a cancer patient had a few weeks but survived a couple of years. What did the patient do to extend their life?
Where do we start? Ozone. Who asked that question? Okay, ozone, intravenous vitamin C. We put them on transfer factors, which is a target supplement, and it targets the cancer cells so that the immune system can identify them better. We checked their diagnostics. I got their genetics tested, and we looked at what they were genetically designed to do, and they were a really poor detoxifier. I checked them for Roundup. Roundup is a glyphosate spray, and his levels were through the roof. So I had him saunering. We put him in. It's a full-time job. I'd have to it's massive. Diet. I put him on ketogenic diet to start with, and that was working really, really well for the first about 8 months. And then we changed it to a vegan diet because his tumour started growing back. So we had to constantly change his protocol because cancer cells like to change their fuel supply. So yeah, it's full on. Yeah, so you do get really in depth and really understand their biochemistry because it changes too. It changes with the seasons, it changes with stress.
Brilliant, thank you. I suspect your inbox is going to be very busy. We've got some great sessions coming up about how to deal with that a little later on this afternoon. If people want to get hold of you, what's the best way to do that?
I'll wait here afterwards. My wait list till November, so I'm happy to take your questions here.
Great.
It's probably easier.
Well, what an opportunity. Very inspiring. Everybody, I think, has learnt a lot here today and is probably going to walk out of here and we'll make those little subtle changes to help better themselves. So, ladies and gentlemen, please give her a massive round of applause. The incredible Kaytee Boyd. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for sticking around as well.
My pleasure.
She's got a bit of time down there after this session is finished. So, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our last keynote speaker for today. Of course, there's plenty of other seminars going on this afternoon. I'm going to now do a prize draw from the team at T2. I'm going to present a prize. If you've entered that competition, it might just be you. And then after that, I might even do the Chandler McLeod one while we wait. The next sessions are underway at 3:15, ladies and gentlemen. So if you want to know what they are, we've got Robin Bennett on the green stage, which is here managing your manager successfully. Keith McGregor in the purple stage, using your assertiveness skills to address difficult behaviours in the office. And Graham Tanner on the blue stage, a spotlight on conduct in the workplace. So if you've registered for them, you can make your way there soon. You've still got a bit of time up your sleeves though. It's just gone 3 o'clock, so 15 minutes time. So stick around. It could be you that has won at T2 competition and the Chandler McLeod competition. So if our man would like to, just come on up here, my friend. Come on up here. We'll see if the winner's in the room. It'd be nice to present them with this prize. And who's it for? Anyone. Oh, anyone. Okay, cool. Wow, okay, I thought this was a draw, but we're just going to give it away. But after that speech that we heard, this is perfect. Detox, just peppermint, lemongrass and ginger, sleep tight and tummy tea. T2, beautiful packaging. And of course, yours right now. And I'm going to ask you a very simple question. A very simple question. Name one of the mocktails that Warehouse Stationery. Oh, okay, cool. Since you... since you, I'll just hopefully not